Minasan, McMegane here, and today we are covering a very interesting deck list because it is one of the most fun I ever have when it comes to deck building ever, and that is Chaos Decklist. As I mentioned just now, it's a very interesting deck list in the sense that it has such an open-ended way of building it because anything works with Chaos as long as it is generic. So this particular deck list, I have been playtesting it for quite a while. It's quite an effective deck list, but do note that this is based on BT06 card and the card that came in between that period before the BT07 came out. So if you guys looking for a template to build a Chaos deck, I hope this is a good deck list for you guys. And yeah, if you guys enjoy this kind of content, consider like, share and subscribe, and comments down below what cards that I should add into the Chaos deck, and what do you think whether this particular deck list help you or not. And yeah, let's get into the deck list. So let's start off with the right line itself, and I have been seeing a lot of Chaos player who try different right lines out, like the Bruce right line to just get the 13 soul out quickly. But here's the thing, this particular deck list is kind of force you to use the original right line, partially because of the other card that got released as a promo, the one who go on Chaos. And in general, I feel like the main purpose of Chaos shouldn't be you hitting 13 different cards, so it's still a ultimate goal. It's just that if you hit 8, you're pretty golden already because your offense are already at a decent level at that stage. But yeah, in this particular deck list, you definitely need to use Chaos for the whole right line for the sake of the one of the best card in the Chaos deck at the moment. So for this particular deck list, I will divide the build into two different aspects of the deck. The cards that I run multiple copies of, and the cards that I run single copy of. And starting off with the multiple copy cards, I will just go from the smallest amount of duplication to the highest amount of duplication. We have Engraver. Okay, Engraver does kind of two jobs here. If you draw this card early game, it's an early game rusher. You don't play Engraver for the counter charge effect, though it always come in handy. That's why I always run a few copy of it, and definitely that counter charge goes a long way. Especially if you want to try run a lot of unit that does a lot of counter blast. It also gives Mikani skill a little bit more option to play because Mikani skill on place you barely use it, but with Engraver you sometimes use it to just get rid of that one annoying opponent rear guard, which definitely will be a very useful thing to clear out for the end game. Then for the other duplication, this is at least 3 copy onwards. So you have Gwenlu, which is
one eternity later.
So I choose to run 3 Gwenlu because for one, running 4 kind of reduce, it kind of break the balance of like different cards in the decks and well duplicate cards in the deck. And I think 3 is a good number because as much as how powerful Gwenlu effect is, you don't really need to use it all the time to go for the end game. Yes, having ability to just block PG is incredible, but it's a necessity in the deck, but you shouldn't aim to get the card. Your main goal is just to get as many Mikani on the field as possible during the turn you want to rush the opponent. That should be your main objective for playing Chaos. Is it just there to instill the win con? Still important, that's why I still run 3, but it's not a priority of it. And speaking of the Mikani himself, I of course do run 4 copy of him. A very important end game piece for Chaos because this is on rear guard free standard. His on place is not that useful. It does come, I mentioned before, it does come in handy when you want to get rid of that one annoying rear guard. And I know some of the people actually put in Unrival Bruce just for killing off the annoying Esperadia, but I feel that is not really necessary. But yeah, overall, Mikani is a very important piece to Chaos deck because of it enables multi-attack to the deck, and it's by far, in my opinion, one of the best multi-attack you can get because you can hit a really ridiculously high number with Chaos skill and Mikani and the other card that play the combo to the itself. And I think it's getting stronger when the BT07 release because there are a few cards that I think are a good match with the Chaos deck in general. So just a quick run through. Of course, running a Pesana Ride is necessary because that's kind of built to the end goal of your deck, which is just win really hard with Mikani. And that additional draw will come in handy especially for the Vanguard effects, which does require you to discard one, which is a little bit annoying. I don't know why there is that effect exists, but other than that, I think it's still unnecessary to run Bikaner in this deck. And then the card that kind of glues the playstyle together, and in my opinion, it does make Chaos a little bit easier to play, not as clunky as the BT05 version of the deck, and that is the Order, the one who go in Chaos. And boy, this thing looks really good. For those who don't know what this card does, essentially Counter Blast 1 if you have over Chaos Vanguard. For every Chaos, check top 5 of your deck. For every Chaos you have in your soul, you put one of those 5 cards into your soul. So that means you can put up to 4 into your soul that way. And then if you have 5 or more different cards in your soul, call a Mikani from your soul, a card with a Mikani insignia name. And if you have 8 or more cards in your soul with different names, plus 10k to one of your unit. The most important aspect of this card, in my opinion, is the fact that not only it fills up the soul that with different names, it also helps to call Mikani for close to no cost. The fact that this card do a lot kind of may force it to be run at 4 copies in the deck. You can run 3, it does work, but I feel like 4, I feel it more safe with it. And not only that, the fact that you can just get call Mikani for free is really great. It allows you to waste less hand early game if you manage to put Mikani into your soul by the first effect or like any of the right line effects. And that's plus 10k is always welcome, especially if your opponent pull into defensive, as it allows your Mikani to start hitting your opponent from 23k onwards, and then with the Chaos skill 33k, which is quite a substantial number for the early game. That's the reason why McMegane is really scary on turn 3 when it hit 15, is because the number that it can hit can be really hard for the opponent to guard even with the defensives. So yeah, definitely run 4 of this, and I hope for the Westerners this card is a little bit more available for you guys, because this is such an important card. I mean, like, together with like Eva orders and the Aurora orders, I wish you guys luck that this comes to your country, and I'm praying for it as well. And last duplication, not really a duplication, but a card that have similar functions is the PGs, of course. So I run one each of all the different PGs that Dusted is currently available with, and one elementary Ascentitude. I mean, this one, as I mentioned in my McMegane video, if you can get it, get it. If you think your deck can kind of run it without it being inactive at any time, just run it. But yeah, in general, the only annoying part about Chaos is that you still need to run the originals PG, which can be really crucial when it comes to certain part of the game. But luckily, Chrono Jet Dragon deck gives you the original PG for Gear Chronicle as a D card, so I can just replace this once it come out. But overall, try to run as many different names as you can. So that's the right why I run like 4 different PGs with different names. They are still kind of do the same job. It's just that it's helped into Chaos playstyle. Okay, let's move on to the different cards names in general. So I'll just put one by one on the field, and once if the board's filled, then I just continue. I'll just gather and move on as much as I can. This is where I would say tech choice of Chaos come in. You can run almost anything in the deck, but here's my option. So we have Barney. I only run 1 copy because it's require Counter Blast. You rather use Counter Blast for the one who go on Chaos. But she's still a pretty useful unit to run because you can get another Mikani out if you already used the order already that turn. So definitely a good card. It's not as necessary as before because of the one who go on Chaos, but if you do need something on that effect, this kind of replace the order if you do not have it. But yeah, I found that once you have the order, you don't really need this card as much. Next up is Mysterious Spring. This one is when the players check top 2 cards, put one to soul, and put one to draw. The Drag Jewel cards. Drag Jewel card really make Chaos Engine running a little bit more smoother because you have option to do things now. This is one of a very good example. Together with Cherry, which also allow you to just put one card to soul, and if you happen to have 4 different grades, you can get a free draw as well. You don't really use this card often because you rather use the order, but that +1 draw can be very crucial if you really need it. But overall, yeah, I still prefer to run her because it's an option soul charge, which is something that there's not a lot right now, or at least released in BT06. Then we have one Amandine. This is just a beater. I don't have a better option to run, so I just run one just in case, and it can come in handy because of the 18k base power, which means that you can hit 28 with Chaos 13 soul skill, and yeah, it's not a bad option to run if you want some good beater. Same goes for Brainwash. Brainwash case is a little bit better because it can gain certain amount of power more, even if it doesn't really synergize well with the Chaos, with the way they soul charge and everything. But it's still a pretty damn strong card to run. But if you don't have it, it's okay. You can just replace it with Grunugram. You can replace it with Grunugam. I seriously still don't know how to pronounce that piece of shit card. I'll leave it up. But yeah, definitely it's not a necessity to run Brainwash in this deck, but it will help your offense if you can do it. It's kind of like Barrel case, like you just need a card to soul charge on place, and the only thing that this does done better is just that it gets power, it increases the offense capability of the deck, and that's pretty much the reason why I run one copy of it in the deck. You can run more actually, but most of the card you run doesn't really soul charge, so it can be a little bit of a weakness as well. Next up we have Jewel Core Dragon. Okay, this one is Jewel Core is such a good card. Like the fact that it just go to soul, not only it help Drag Jewel, it also help decks like Bruce or even Baromegness if you want to get some early game rush. Like this card can do a lot of things. But in this deck, it's just a way for me to rush early, or I get a decent amount of boost before putting into soul, just increase the amount of number of different cards in soul for my deck. And in general, it's just a very good card. Not necessary to run partially because of the fact that the card comes only one copy of playable version of it in a trial deck, which costs close to 10 times more. No, not close to 10 times, like 7-8 times more. So if you're willing to sacrifice that Jewel Core of yours, go for it. Otherwise, wait until there is a reprint of Jewel Core, I guess, before you run it, because I got a feeling they will get a reprint, but not this year. Okay, next up for the grade 2, Mysterious Accordionist. This one is it's just a helpful card to get early game or during any part of your right phase, because it's always +1 to different name in the soul. That's why I run just one only, because it can be useful, it can be a little bit of a break depending on which turn you get it. Otherwise, pretty okay card to run this deck. And then we have Amazing Frosty. I run this just so that like I can get the late game turn a little bit better, because you won't get Mikani on the field, both two Mikani on the field all the times. So this is a good backup to go into if you want to get some good beater. Cause on by himself plus Chaos is a 30k, which is a respectable number, and we haven't consider boost, which can be a really thick column if you know how to play around with this card. Then the last two cards, Indicate Arrow, is soul charge, boost the Brainwasher, and then also it adds 1 to soul if you have different names. So in general, very good card to run. There's no card that really replaced the Indicate Arrow yet, so I think this is a very important card to run. And Expeller, an early game rusher, and also soul charger. In my opinion, I love this card a lot. Like, it's allow you to do early rush while still gaining benefit, which is something I love when it comes to deck building. And in general, the power gain from it, if you manage to put it into soul, can be helpful for Chaos, because Chaos doesn't boost himself, so we can get that additional 10k just for swing the opponent to force more cards from hand. It's very useful. Okay, we have done the normal units. Now let's move on to the triggers, the last aspect of the deck. So we have the Dusted Over triggers. This is just to increase the pressure on Chaos because you know Bikaner already have more than enough pressure, so you just need a little bit more on the Vanguard itself. Then we have 4 draws, so I choose to run all different names because you know it's being Chaos deck. Yes, this is useful for additional shield, but after playing a while I realized you won't hit draw that often, and sometimes having that additional copy kind of screw up the deck, the gameplay sometimes. So I choose to run 1 less. For the crits though, I still choose to run 1 more, 2 different duplicate crits, which is the effect crits, because of the fact that this one can put itself into soul. So if you don't have that other copy in the soul yet, you can use this as a way to increase the total number of souls in the chaos, helping it to hit 13 or something. It can be helpful. And then this is a weird option, but I go with 2 fronts, 1 effect, 1 non-effects. This is just to increase the unpredictability of the deck, just to screw around with the opponent, cause you know, maybe like, oh, they're expecting a crit, oh, but it's me front. So it's just there to increase, just to screw around with the opponent, and just make it chaotic, you know. I'm sorry for the pun. And yeah, for heals, I would recommend you guys go for like a full vanilla heal, because personally for me, if you run effect seal, regardless of whether it's a multi-attack guardian or crit guardian, it's better to run more than 1 copy of those. But the deck right now doesn't really encourage me to do that, so because of that I only run, I run this just for fun in case, I guess. But otherwise you can run just any 4 heal with different name. I would still recommend to go into a vanilla one, because unlike McMegane who can get the quality guard, this deck cannot. So going for vanilla might be a better choice here. So it's just depend on the way you build your deck. But overall, I found vanilla heal to be more effective in this deck more so than effect seal. And that's my chaos deck list. So it's a very chaotic deck list. Sorry for the pun again. But yeah, overall it's a very interesting deck to play because it gives you so much chance to try different tech choice that you normally skip when you run other right lines in general. But yeah, what do you guys think? Did this deck list inspire you to play Chaos? Do leave down in the comments below, and as I mentioned earlier at the start of the video, do give me a recommendation as well. What are the cards you think should be run in the deck to improve the either chaos nets of the deck or the consistency of the deck? So yeah, do leave down in the comments below as well, and that's all I have for today. Thank you so much for watching, take care of yourself, and this is McMegane signing out.